Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR, HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Welcome to Practical Mystic with Maureen St Germain, talk radio to help make every day a day of heaven on earth. Using the information we provide, you'll learn practical living tools to make your life meaningful, joyful, and fun. Maureen St Germain, mystic, mom, and author, teaches advanced spiritual techniques in ascension work. You'll come away empowered and transformed. Since 1994, she has traveled and taught meditation, sacred geometry, and manifestation. Her numerous published works, which include books, CDs, DVDs, are bestsellers on Amazon and in bookstores. My name is Kim Barron, and I am here with the practical mystic Maureen St Germain. I work with Maureen, and I'm a student of all things spiritual. Together, we intend to inspire you to be your best self. We have a great show for you today. We are talking about you, a multidimensional being, and calling in the dragons for assistance. Hello, Maureen. We have a big show here for today.
Yeah, we do.
We could probably talk about this for a week. Yeah, so let's get started. So we are multidimensional beings. Can you give us kind of an overview, first of all, on the different dimensions that are available to us?
Yes. There are many dimensions, and the system that I use came through my guides, and they gave me an outline, and then one day in the middle of the night, they gave me the rest of it. So I have compiled a list of 13 dimensions, 12 that are actively occupied and energy moving through. We are primarily in the lower third, and that lower third includes first, second, third, and fourth. Fifth dimension is part of the next level up. Presently, most people are in an upper range of third dimension, and what that means is you're able to experience things at two-dimensional levels and one-dimensional levels, but you are not at the basic level of third, you're at an upper level. And the reason for that is that we are evolving, and we are moving to fifth. We are skipping over fourth. We are using fourth as a conduit, but fourth is not a place we want to go to, and there's a lot of reasons for that.
And what is it about, is the fourth basically just a stopover place? That's kind of what I've heard, that you don't want to reside there, but it's kind of a go-to place. And don't the elemental kingdom reside in that?
Exactly so.
In that fourth dimension?
So the fourth dimension carries, first of all, the primary vibration of fourth dimension is emotion. And so, contrary to what the scientists would tell you, fourth dimension being time, my experience with fourth dimension is that it is actually where the emotions are high, which is why so many people are able to move into fourth dimension. But it's an unstable place, meaning there's more movement there than there is in third, and there's enough movement without direction, because it's still a polarity place, that you either go up higher towards fifth dimension, or you drop down lower towards the lower vibrational energies called the astral plane. So the fourth dimension is like a vortex in one sense, or a quicksand in another. And fourth dimension also carries with it the quality of really being the place where you go there to get somewhere else. so to help people understand, I make a joke that it's like Grand Central Station. Nobody wants to spend the night there, but it's a cool place to visit.
Sure. Now, in your book, Beyond the Flower of Life, you say that third dimension is thinking and seeks understanding so that the ego can act, and then fifth dimension isn't about thinking, it's about knowing. So really, it seems like fifth dimension is where our goal probably in this lifetime, and you're actually writing a book called Waking Up in 5D. Yeah.
Right, which should come out sometime this summer. So let's talk a little bit about that. So third dimension is about thinking so that you can use the ego to decide, and that's a very powerful thing. We actually chose to move into a free will zone, and in the free will zone, it's okay to choose the not God choice. Now, a lot of times people say to me, what does that mean? And the best example I can give you is, imagine you're the caretaker of a 3-year-old, and you live somewhere where there's a farm, maybe, and after a big rainstorm, you go outside with this 3-year-old. What's the first thing the 3-year-old does? They find a mud puddle, and they stomp in it, and they'll sit in it if you'll let them. And you let them do that. You let them get all dirty, get all messed up, and then when playtime is over, you go back in the house, they get a bath, they get clean clothes, and everything is fine. That's the 3D reality. We are allowed to choose a choice that is a not God choice. That's the whole business of free will. It's the ability to have two things going on. Number one, the ability to choose. So that experience of not being fully plugged into God, not knowing your way, and being allowed to make mistakes.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
God loves you anyway. What a concept. God loves you anyway. And then the second part of it is, what if your goal was to be fully plugged into God? How do you find your way when you only have a tiny spark? And the answer is that's part of the game, that you find your way. And so as we begin to reevaluate what third dimension is, we can begin to see that it's really a playground where we created a space where we could expand the experience of consciousness. Because prior to that, if you were plugged into God, you wouldn't dream of doing anything that was not God, because it wouldn't occur to you. You know, imagine, if you have a house guest and somebody comes to the door and you invite them in, you offer them something to drink. You sit them down and you say, can I get you some cookies or something? Everyone knows that when someone comes to your place, you offer them something and you behave a certain way. You're gracious and so on. If you don't want the person to come in, of course, you say, no, thank you, and you close the door, and that's that. But once you invite someone in, you know the correct behavior. And so when you're plugged into God, you know the behavior that is the loving God that's in you, because you're plugged into God. But if you have only a tiny spark, you might not know the highest and best choice. And that variety creates opportunity for expression in consciousness. I will close this piece with saying, man's inhumanity to man was never meant to go as far as it has gone. We need to be really clear about this. This is a very clear channeled message I received many years ago, more than 25 years ago, that man's inhumanity to man was never anticipated by the beings that created us, by the intention of being out there in the free will zone, being able to choose the not God choice. It's important for people to realize this, because if they look at creation and they look at God and they say, well, what kind of a God would create a world that does this? The answer is, well, we were given free will to do what we wanted, and the extreme misuse was pushed into a expression by certain beings that were not meant to do what they did. They kind of broke cosmic law in the first place by nurturing the bad in us, so to speak.
Right. Oh, gosh.
So once we understand that, then we can have a little more compassion for ourselves and each other, and how that can be. Now, the most important thing to understand moving towards 5G and this is a very important piece, you can't move into 5D without ethics. You can't move into 5D without the comprehension of the fact that your actions will have an impact on others. Your choices will impact others. Now, when we're little, we don't, we're children, we don't understand this. We don't even think about that. And even as adults, sometimes we don't think about it. I know as a young adult, I did a lot of things that I didn't think very far ahead, that how it might impact somebody. I'm thinking what I'm doing won't bother anybody, but I didn't really think it through. And this is a myopia that we carry until we start to remember who we really are. And as we remember who we really are and our God connection, then it's that whole business again of your mismanners, just it drops in. You know what the right thing to do is. And it's no longer the right thing to do, it's the God choice. And there's a huge difference between right and wrong and the God choice and the not God choice. I'm deliberately choosing to use the words not God choice to represent, I'll use the word bad, and the God choice to represent the good, because when you become fifth dimensional, there is no right and wrong. It's only the energy of the God choice that's open and of interest to you, so that's why you don't need to choose between bad and good or right and wrong. There is no need to. You see?
I absolutely do. Now, our higher self connection, would you say that is part of our fifth dimensional being?
Yes. So one of the things I'd like to say before we kind of move on to the higher self is the easiest way to know if you really have ethics is to act as if someone's watching.
Mm.
And, make it your critic. If you pretend that it's your critic that's watching, you're on your best behavior. And if you have trouble being on your best behavior for whatever reason, this is a way to help yourself without anyone knowing what you're doing, and it'll literally shift who you are. Now, the higher self is an element, an aspect of you at 5D. So your higher self is you, and it is the part of you that's already plugged into God, and your fifth dimensional self is this energetic form of you that's so plugged into God that the God choice is obvious. When you make your own spiritual work to connect with your higher self, what happens is the God choice is the opportunity that gets presented. So, for example, I take people through a training where they go for 6 weeks and they practice working with their higher self. And at the end of that 6 weeks, if they've done everything I've taught them, they will literally have 100% accuracy. And what's useful for that is instead of using your pendulum or your muscle testing or some other form of kinesiology, you use your higher self connection and you ask. And it's very interesting how it plays out, but it's always accurate. So when you ask your higher self, is it in my highest and best good to do such and such, your higher self will give you the answer. Now, you might not like the answer. So one of the things I like to ask people to do is do your due diligence first. Let's say I want to fly to L.A. Let's see what the airfares are. What's my availability? Is the scheduling going to work? Is my friend that's in L.A. going to be there when I want to go? And then ask higher self, because here's what happens. The ego is your friend. Your ego is something that got you where you are today. Your ego has probably got you to turn on the radio and listen to the show or listen to the show over the Internet. What happens is your ego is part of who you are as a personality. And so you want your ego to be actively involved in solving your life. But the ego is always using historical data to explain why you should do A over B. And when you take the time to review all the options and then check in with your higher self, you've satisfied the ego. You haven't ignored it. It's a bit like, the young person who leaves home. And they go back to their mom and they say, I'm looking at an apartment, and I'm looking at this apartment or that apartment, and I'm trying to figure out which one to choose. These are all the benefits of it. These are the disadvantages. This is the benefits of the other one. And all the mom is going to do is reflect back this, and this. Mm-hmm. But then, after that's all done, we feel satisfied that we've examined everything with the mind, we've used the ego, and now when we turn to the higher self, it's okay if the higher self gives us an answer that we weren't expecting. Mm-hmm. Because the higher self gives us the accuracy and the answer to something that we truly don't know why. You know, many of you have heard me tell the story of the fact that when my then future husband was courting me and trying to get me to meet up with him for a lovely vacation in Hawaii, I said to him, that's 3 months out. I don't know you well enough to commit to such a... And my higher self came in and said, aren't you going to check in with your higher self? And so I said to him on the phone, you know, I always check in on these things, so I'll get back to you. I didn't even want to, you know, connect with my higher self while I was on the phone with him because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to have any outside influence. And when my higher self told me to go, I remember thinking at the personality level, wow, well, I guess this is going to last longer than 3 months.
That is fabulous.
It is fabulous because, you know, when you're a mature adult, a lot of times you have relationships that last for a short while and then people move on and, you know, it's like come and go. So I was quite surprised.
No, I love that. And so the thing that comes to my mind is so the ego kind of helps us maneuver in this 3D world, but our higher self connection, which connects us to the higher dimensions, then helps us to, or actually allows us to pick the choice that is in our best and highest good.
Well, that's the logical answer, but to be fair, the first part, the ego does help us at the third dimensional level, but more than that, we want to be aware, we want to notice that the ego is basing its recommendation on your history. So think about logic, and I always like to play this game and ask people to define logic. And they usually define logic as a system of thought. It's based on, a system of step-by-step analysis that takes you to a conclusion. And, you know, we go through this a few times, so someone finally says, well, it's based on historical data. You have this data, and you're able to repeat it, therefore it's logic. And my answer to that is exactly so. Logic is a system of prediction. And it's no different a system of prediction than the psychic you might go to.
Sure.
And once we recognize that logic is a system that we have used to order our world, and it is one system, but it is not the only system, we then have freedom to say, okay, this is a good system. It's useful. We have lots of experience that is useful. At the same time, we also know that we can use our higher self-guidance, and that higher self has access not only to, the God choice, as we call it, or it also has access to the information about what's going on around us that we might know, but we don't know that we know. You know, like that gut feeling about the neighbor that's not friendly, or the gut feeling you have about a situation that's not working. And so you know this, but your higher self has clarity on it. So your higher self can help you make a wise choice. You know, for years and years, when I traveled all over the world, I always checked in about every single trip I would go on. And one time I was scheduled to be in Spain, and it was right after the big event that happened in the subway in Madrid, and I was checking in with a staff member, and she kept getting no. I was not to go. And I finally said to her, but I keep getting yes. And she said, well, then you should do it. And I said, no, actually, I believe that we both have to have the same answer. And I'm glad you're telling me the truth. You're not just, being a yes man. But it doesn't make any sense to me because Daryl, the man I was dating at the time, God that he was supposed to go too. And then my coworker and friend said, oh, Daryl's going to go? And I said, yeah. And so then she asked the same question I was is it in our highest and best good to go? And that included Daryl, and suddenly her answer was yes. So there was an energy there of Maureen needed to have someone with her at that time, and she was picking up on that, and because we weren't actually asking the same question, we didn't get the same answer. And once you check in with your higher self, then that's the end of the road. You don't go back and rethink it. You could go back and ask your higher self again if you want, but you're going to get the same answer. And sometimes you need to do that because your ego's not happy about the outcome, and that's always useful. On more than one occasion, I've been told to do things a certain way that I thought they should be done one way, and my higher self says do it this way. And if my higher self says to do it, I do it. For example, one time, on numerous occasions, I've been told to give employees a raise, even contract employees who work for me and have worked for me for this set fee every month, on and on. And my higher self says, give them a raise right now. And, they just get a raise. That's it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Now you do have a program on your website, and it's actually a self-study program on connecting with your higher self. So if anyone is interested in learning how to connect with their higher self, you can go to www.MaureenStGermain.com. That's MaureenStGermain.com, and we will, and you can just put in higher self or look under the events, and then you can actually do this at your leisure. Do you have anything to say about that, Maureen?
Well, I do recommend that, if you're interested in this work, we have a wonderful book called Beyond the Flower of Life, and you can just go to chapters 4 and 5, Higher Self 101, and learn these concepts. What is quite amazing to me is I learned the Merkaba meditation as a tool to be part of my ascension work. And as I grew in my connection with the higher self, I began to realize that I could teach people a protocol, a step-by-step protocol, that they could use their logic and their mind to acquire a spiritual skill. And that's why it's so remarkable. It's not like all the other programs out there. I do that part where I look at the logic and I make it work in the logic so people can use that as their gateway in.
Great. And we will be right back, so please stay tuned.
Essential oils have been used since ancient times, but there has never been a formulation as amazing and original as Maureen St Germain's Aro Mandalas, a line of essential oils that combine 3 spiritual and healing traditions. No matter what negative emotional issue you may be dealing with, there is an Aro Mandalas essential oil that can help you grow and reach a positive emotional response. So clear out those unwanted emotions and feel empowered with Aro Mandalas essential oils. Visit MaureenStGermain.com and click on Essential Oil Blends. That's MaureenStGermain.com.
Shh! Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
So, you want to change your life? Well, I have a great, easy, and stress-free way on how to do that. Get a guided meditation with Maureen St Germain. Powerful guided meditations on CDs. Or you can download an MP3 to your computer or tablet. There's so many to choose from, and once you get one, they are so reasonably priced and work so well. You'll probably want them all, and why not? Visit MaureenStGermain.com and click on Books and Media. Do it now. MaureenStGermain.com. Books and Media. And help change your life now.
Radio Your Way. HealthyLife.net.
Attention, Practical Mystic listeners. Here's a deal you won't want to refuse. If you've ever wanted a chance to get a free Akashic reading with Maureen St Germain, then here's all you have to do to increase your chance for a totally free reading. Email Maureen. Tell her your problem, and if your story is used on the Practical Mystic Show, then you'll win a 30-minute Akashic reading with Maureen St Germain. How easy is that? And the email address is easy to remember, too. radio@MaureenStGermain.com. Email her now and get a chance at that free reading. radio@MaureenStGermain.com.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
And welcome back, and you are listening to Maureen St Germain, the Practical Mystic. And before we had to break, we were talking about your Higher Self program, and you had mentioned a kit. And could you kind of give us an idea what's in that kit?
Well, the kit, as you have stated, is a self-study program, and it teaches people through week-by-week lessons things to do and a process that you are to go through. So I'll give you an example, and then also there's some guided meditation. So in each series of the downloads that you receive, you'll have the guided meditations that will walk you through the process, and then you begin the practice, and then you have more guided meditations and more instruction and so on. So the process is rather straightforward, and if you were a really good study and you were just listening to me here, you might actually be able to apply it. It's always nice to have the backup material. But what you do is you do a guided meditation where I walk you through it, and I ask you to ask your higher self for symbols or signals. And what's so amazing to me is that it is a very rare occasion when I take people through that guided meditation that they don't get something. And the signal or symbol might be a color, it might be a shape, it might be a sound, it might be a ringing in the ear, it could be an itch on the ear. And then you use that and you pay attention. Now, I can remember when one class I actually taught this live, the students were supposed to report what they got, and one man said, "I want to go first." And I said, "Okay." And he went first, and he said, "No, I didn't get anything. No, I didn't get a symbol for yes. I didn't get a symbol for no, and I didn't get a message." And he sat down, and we all laughed. And so then I said, "Okay, next." I didn't give him any grief. I just said, "Okay, you know." And then by the time we got around to the end, he said, "Well, now that I hear what everybody else got, I sort of did get a sound or a color or whatever." A lot of times, people get something in that meditation, but they dismiss it because it's
not what they were thinking. Yeah,
well, or not what they were thinking, or
thinking
so, you know. Yeah. A great story is a guy who had a good connection with his higher self, and we go through the meditation. We take people through that part where we actually ask, and this was a guy who was a bodybuilder, and he thought his higher self looked just like him. And in this meditation, this Buddha shows up, the guy, fat, bald guy, and he said, "Who are you?" And the guy said, "I'm your higher self. What'd you expect?"
I love it.
So going back to the program, you get the idea, you get the concept of what your symbol or signal is. And then you have to practice for 45 days. During that 45 days, you're not allowed to ask any important questions. You're not allowed to ask open-ended questions, like, will it rain today? You could ask, higher self, is it my highest and best way to carry an umbrella today? But you don't ask, will it rain? Because when you're asking, will it rain, you're actually asking a question so you can use your ego mind to decide to carry an umbrella.
Sure.
See the difference?
Yes.
You don't ask predictive questions of any kind because you would know the answer, and then you're keeping score. And you're not to ask anything that you could know the answer to later. So you don't ask, will Johnny show up on time today? You might say, will I have to wait? That might be appropriate, but you won't be projecting it out onto somebody else, and you won't be doing it as a way to know the answer to something in the future. You're asking about your choices of actions moving forward. Do that practice, and you start doing it every day, 30 or 40 times a day. What happens through the practice is you get good at recognizing what your higher self message, symbol looks like, feels like, sounds like. And what happens as a result of that is that you can begin to rely on it. Now, one of the things that happens when you ask only unimportant questions over that cycle is that you're asking in a controlled environment. So the environment isn't anything that's important. There's no stress or pressure to get it right.
Right.
So what that does is allows you to have I'll call it a calm state of receiving, and your ego's not interested, not looking at it, not watching. Now, if you care, the way to know if it's a good question is to ask yourself, okay, if my higher self tells me to cook the beets that are in my refrigerator tonight, will I do it? No, I don't really feel like beets tonight. Then don't ask. Just skip the beets. You know?
Got it.
It's a very powerful set of tools. So the environment then works to develop an awareness of what does it feel like without any interference from your ego. And then once you get comfortable with what that feels like, then you're able to get more clarity. Now, along the way, even though your ego doesn't care whether you have beets tonight or not, what happens is over the 6 weeks, the ego is also collecting data. Even though you're not paying attention to it, it's not important. There's like this background thing that's going on. And by the end of your 6 weeks, your ego has already figured out that your higher self always gets it right. So, you know, another example would be, imagine that I'm always going to the racetrack and winning. And I come to you and I say, you know, I've been doing really well at the racetrack. You know, a couple of weeks ago I won $10,000. Last week I won $5,000. The week before that I won $8,000. I'm going to the racetrack tomorrow. Do you want to come? Of course you want to come. And you're going to bet what I bet. And that's what happens. The ego notices that the higher self gets it right. You know, you ask your higher self, should we go to the pizza place or the Italian restaurant? Your higher self says the Italian restaurant. You think to yourself, really? Now, again, these are yes-no questions. So first of all, higher self, pizza? No. Italian? Yes. So you keep going until you get a yes. You get a yes on Italian. You show up, and you run into a long-lost friend that you've been wondering what happened to them. Those kinds of synchronicities will start to happen with regularity when you ask your higher self about unimportant things. Now, anybody out there that's listening that says to me, well, I've already got a good higher self connection, I always get good intuition, I always know, my response to you is, yeah, but do you have 100% accuracy? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have 100% accuracy, you need this. Because what this does is develop the connection in such a way that it can never be challenged. Right. Because your ego is consciously choosing to partner with your higher self. Your ego never has to compete with your higher self, because what does your ego want ultimately? For you to get the goods, for you to get what you want, to be safe, to be secure, whatever it is. Your ego wants you to get what you want and what you need. And if your ego can see clearly that your higher self can do that, I'm my new best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my God, I love that. So now, again, if anybody wants to do this, the self-study workshop, go to Maureen's website at www.maureenstgermain.com. You'll find all kinds of great tools on that site as well. So while you're there, please just peruse the site. The other thing I want to talk about when we come back is you have another tool that you use to help you with assistance, and it's called Calling in the Dragons. To me, I really want to talk about that too.
That's a very interesting experience, and I'm so happy to share the dragons with you. So that'll be great.
Yes, good. Okay, and so we will be right back, and we are talking to Maureen St Germain, the Practical Mystic, and you are listening to Practical Mystic Radio.
So, you want to change your life? Well, I have a great, easy, and stress-free way on how to do that. Get a guided meditation with Maureen St Germain. Powerful guided meditations on CDs. Or you can download an MP3 to your computer or tablet. There's so many to choose from, and once you get one, they are so reasonably priced and work so well. You'll probably want them all, and why not? Visit MaureenStGermain.com and click on Books and Media. Do it now. MaureenStGermain.com. Books and Media. And help change your life now.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. Well, be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap steak. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
The loving, healing energy of the Akashic Records is a profound tool for self-exploration and empowerment, and these records include every thought, word, and deed of your life throughout time. With so much information, you will probably need a guide to help you access and interpret it. That's where Maureen St Germain's trained and certified Akashic Record guides can help. Discover what you really need to know with an Akashic Record guide reading. For more information, visit AkashicRecordsGuides.org. or visit MaureenStGermain.com and click Akashic Readings. Essential oils have been used since ancient times, but there has never been a formulation as amazing and original as Maureen St Germain's Aro Mandalas, a line of essential oils that combine 3 spiritual and healing traditions. No matter what negative emotional issue you may be dealing with, there is an Aro Mandalas essential oil that can help you grow and reach a positive emotional response. So clear out those unwanted emotions and feel empowered with Aro Mandalas essential oils. Visit MaureenStGermain.com and click on Essential Oil Blends. That's MaureenStGermain.com.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
And we are back with Maureen St Germain, the Practical Mystic. And before we left, we were talking about your higher self connection to use as a tool to help you connect with your higher self and access other dimensions. Now, you have another tool that you use to help you with assisting in maneuvering, and it is calling in your dragon. And so in 2010, some dragons appeared to you, and since then you have had an interest and have been using them ever since. Can you tell us about that, Maureen?
Yes, it's a very, very interesting thing. There are many people that have never stopped thinking about the dragons or working with the dragons. And what I can tell you is that the whole idea of dragons being in service to humanity is a concept that goes way, way back to antiquity. And, for example, in the Cloisters Museum in New York City, wonderful part of the Metropolitan Museum in northern Manhattan, there's an amazing museum, and in this museum is a tapestry of a dragon that used to hang in a church. Mm-hmm. Now, it is believed that the dragons were physical at one time, and that they were moved out of the reality because they were being persecuted. And they initially moved up a dimension, to the 4th dimension, so they could be here but not be persecuted. But there was a lot of misuse of their energy, and they were, like I said, persecuted to the point where then they needed to pull back from the planetary energy completely so that whole species could heal. And they have now been given permission to come back into the reality, and they work with humans, but they also work with the elemental kingdom. So that means they work with the earth elementals, which are the gnomes, fairies, and elves. They work with the air, sylphs, the fire, salamanders, and so on. And they also work with humans. Now, the word dragon actually can be translated and goes back to an earlier word that has to do with clarity and understanding. So the number one activity that you might choose to use is to call the dragon to help you understand something that needs clarity. Perhaps a situation is clouded by many people's versions of the story. Maybe it's clouded by hidden agendas, and you're really trying to understand what's going on. So you call in the dragons, and you ask them to provide you with clarity. Now, I believe that the dragons came in the year of the dragon, because I remember after I was made aware of the dragon, then that following spring was the Chinese year of the dragon, and I thought how auspicious that they chose to come in at that time. Now, they are not physical at this time, but they are showing up in your visuals when your eye goes into a soft focus. They're showing up in the clouds that you see. So when you look at the sky, if you see a shape that makes you think of a dragon, what's really going on is the sylphs are forming the shape to show you the shape of the dragon that's present. Now, I'd like to tell a story about a man that I know who's he's a chiropractor, and he was in a difficult time. His life was at, it's a tough time, and he was struggling, and he was giving me his tale of woe. And he was in my apartment, good longtime friend, and I looked at him and I said, all right, I have to do a bio break. I'm going to walk away for 5 minutes, and what I want you to do is close your eyes and ask your dragon to appear and to help you. So I come back, and this grown man is crying. And he says, I saw my dragon. She's pearlescent. And she's white. And she's beautiful. And she's always there to help me. And it's very, very amazing, because this dragon gave him some instructions, told him some things he needed to know, and he wouldn't have even thought to have a meditation to call in the dragon. The other thing I told him was, when you see your dragon, or even if you don't see your dragon, ask the dragon what its name is, and it will tell you. Now, everyone can do this. You can do this at home. You sit quietly, you ask for your heart to open, and you do that with some kind of heart-opening exercise, thinking of something you really, really love. And then you say, in your thoughts, I'd like to meet my dragon. I'd like to meet my dragons if there's more than one. But let's start with one, and then I'd like his name. And the name will be on the tip of your tongue. And from that point forward, that's what you call your dragon. Now, when a dragon gives you his name, it's the equivalent of giving you ownership. Because once you know your dragon's name and you call it by name, it's like a contract you have that the dragon now is there to serve you. I want to use the word duty-bound, but duty-bound feels a little too strong for me. It's a free will choice that the dragon gives you his name, so it is his honor and pleasure to serve you.
Oh, I love that. Now, I know that you you call in your dragons for lots of things.
Yes, I do. Now, before we go on, I want to say one other thing. Don't tell anyone your dragon. Because that's giving them the ability to command your dragon.
Oh, wow.
So you don't want to share. I mean, for example, my spouse and I, we share the names of our dragons. But that's because our dragons work together and we're working together. But wouldn't tell somebody that you're not your beloved with, because you wouldn't want to take the risk that they might call in your dragon and put your dragon to work on some other purpose. Because remember, your dragon knows you. Your dragon knows your motives. And if your motives aren't pure, they're not going to show up to help you. And you won't get that information. So if you're just looking to, acquire a skill and it's like mundane, you're probably not going to succeed. But if you're a person that's very clear on their mission, very clear that they're on the ascension process, the dragon wants to help you. And yes, I do. And I have some great stories. One time my husband and I were in the Seattle area, and we were on the Surface Road next to a big, big freeway. And this particular road was very straight and ran about 5 miles. And there was a traffic light at every intersection. So as you looked out in front of you, you could see maybe 20 traffic lights easily. And, traffic was stopped on the freeway, and it was stopped where we were. And my husband's starting to commiserate, oh, man, it's going to take forever to get home, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and said, well, let's ask the dragons, and we'll ask the dragons to help all the people on the freeway and help all the people around us, and we'll be able to get where we want to go. We're just going to ask the dragons to smooth our way. And my husband looked up, and all the lights were green as far as he could see. And he said to me, I have never seen that before in my life.
Oh, my gosh, I love that. So we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this talk about the dragons, because there's still some questions that I have, and I know the listeners do too. So we'll be right back.
Attention, Practical Mystic listeners. Here's a deal you won't want to refuse. If you've ever wanted a chance to get a free Akashic reading with Maureen St Germain, then here's all you have to do to increase your chance for a totally free reading. Email Maureen. Tell her your problem, and if your story is used on the Practical Mystic show, then you'll win a 30-minute Akashic reading with Maureen St Germain. How easy is that? And the email address is easy to remember, too. radio@MaureenStGermain.com. Email her now and get a chance at that free reading. radio@MaureenStGermain.com.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now, this same technology is available to you. They have the best Earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. EarthChannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now. So come to EarthChannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call earthchannel.com at 1-800-849-8978. That's 1-800-849-8978.
So, you want to change your life? Well, I have a great, easy, and stress-free way on how to do that. Get a guided meditation with Maureen St Germain. Powerful guided meditations on CDs. Or you can download an MP3 to your computer or tablet. There's so many to choose from, and once you get one, they are so reasonably priced and work so well. You'll probably want them all, and why not? Visit MaureenStGermain.com and click on Books and Media. Do it now. MaureenStGermain.com. Books and Media. And help change your life now. Essential oils have been used since ancient times, but there has never been a formulation as amazing and original as Maureen St Germain's Aro Mandalas, a line of essential oils that combine 3 spiritual and healing traditions. No matter what negative emotional issue you may be dealing with, there is an Aro Mandalas essential oil that can help you grow and reach a positive emotional response. So clear out those unwanted emotions and feel empowered with Aro Mandalas essential oils. Visit MaureenStGermain.com and click on Essential Oil Blends. That's MaureenStGermain.com.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
And we are back talking with Maureen St Germain, the Practical Mystic, and we're talking about dragons. So, Maureen, you were just telling us a story, and we'd like to hear more about the dragons and what they're like, what you experience when you call in your dragon.
Well, first of all, I want to be very clear that although dragons are related to the reptiles, they are not reptilians. For one thing, dragons care for their young and nurture them and stay close to them, which is different from the reptilian kingdom. And it's also important because, we think, well, what about this other business? And we're not going to talk about that in this class, in this hall, rather, but it's important to understand that the dragons are part of a remarkable species that used to have physical embodiment on the planet and are back in spirit form to support us. Now, whenever you feel life you're in a situation where someone else is inappropriately taking the power. Maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's some situation that you're involved in. Call on the black dragon to clear the space and to hold the misuse of power at bay. And they can do that, and they will do it. Your dragons can also help you as you do things that are important. Let's say you've got a term paper to write, or you've got a test to take. Because the dragons are all about clarity, they can actually help you. Now, I will tell you that I'm a pretty good driver, but there are a lot of people who are better drivers than me, and I know this. And so whenever I get in the car, I always ask the dragons to take over the driving. And it is so interesting to me. I had a long drive last weekend, and I thought I'd get off at one stop and, didn't manage to move over enough time to get off that exit. And then a couple of exits later, I was thinking about getting off, and then did, but there was nothing there, so I got back on the freeway. And then about 2 miles down the road, I came upon an accident that had just happened. The car was banged up. I didn't look like anybody was drastically hurt, but it was a snowy day, so it was a little bit of ice maybe. But the police had not even arrived.
Wow.
And I wondered to myself if the dragons kind of pulled me out of that action, so that I wouldn't have to deal with it as I approached it. So that's very, very cool. Dragons also show up if we're calling on them to give us advance warning of something that we need to know about, if we're calling them on a regular basis.
Yes, and to smooth things over in advance, so to speak. To smooth things over before you even enter a situation in advance.
That's right.
Yeah. And now, do you need to ask that, when you're asking to get to know your dragon, do you have to ask that it's 100% godlike, or can you just assume that?
Well, I always like to offer that caveat, because there are plenty of beings that would like to impersonate certainly the presence of forces that are not of 100% godlike are still running around on the planet a little bit. There's no new entries of dark forces, and certainly plenty of the dark ones are being rounded up and escorted out. But it's always wise to insist that I'm working only with beings that are 100% godlike. Start out with that, and then when you call on your dragon, it already has to go through that net of unconditional love and light, so you know that it's in alignment with that.
Right.
What's just amazing to me is that initially it was understood how helpful the dragons were. And over time, when Christianity kind of took over, there was this feeling that somehow the dragons were problematic. And so they were then expunged. In truth, we always have the opportunity to connect with energies that are of the light. And the dragons are an element that have come back into this reality to help humanity with their ascension. Now, why are the dragons able to help us with their ascension? And it goes back to clarity. When you don't understand something, when you're trying to figure out whether a teacher spoke truthfully, when you're trying to understand what to do next, when you're needing guidance about which way to go, all of those things, your dragons can help you and help overshadow you so that you see with clarity what it is you need to see. And then your decision-making becomes not only easy, but it becomes uplifting because you're able to move forward in an uplifting way. We all make decisions, and, my guides tell me that every decision is one of 5. So that means that there's 2 above-grade choices, 2 below-grade choices, and 1 higher self choice. So even, you could make 3 choices, and they would all be what's called above grade, or, on their way towards God. Sometimes we just can't bring ourselves to make the most evolved choice, but we might make the second most evolved choice. But in any case, your dragons will help you see what choices you have that are useful to you and help you make choices that are good for you.
Now, do you consider your dragon one of your guides?
No. Okay. I don't. I consider my dragon a helper, like you might have a helper pet, like a sheep herder might have a sheepdog.
Sure.
So my dragon is like my ascension guide. So he's not like a guide that is like an ascended master or an angel. The dragons carry the energy that allows you to be your best self. And they can also create a pathway for you that helps you achieve what you want to achieve. If you're in a rainforest and you've got a man in front of you with 2 machetes and he's walking in front of you swinging his arms, you can walk in that rainforest and not have everything in growing, hit you and knock you down.
Sure.
That's your dragon. So he's not a guide in the sense that we think of our guides as being beings that are more evolved than us, because the dragons are a different evolution. They never went through this free will thing, so they're not like the ascended masters.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, now believe it or not, we are out of time. Now, you had said that the dragons are, possibly gave you your title for your new book, Waking Up in 5D, which is just about done. And actually, you can pre-order Maureen's Waking Up in 5D on her website at www.maureenstgermain.com. And I want to thank you for listening, and thank you, Maureen, for this wonderful information. My name is Kim Barron, and please join us next month when we're going to be talking about angels and guides and the 7 archangels. So please join us the second Monday of every month at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And for more information on Maureen St. Germain and to receive her monthly download and just take a look at all of her books, meditation CDs, the Arrow Mandalas, essential oils, go to www.maureenstgermain.com. And thank you so much for listening. Again, this has been the Practical Mystic, Maureen St. Germain. See you next month. Thank you.